This is Sportish.
Do it better.
This is Sportish. This is Sportish. This is Sportish. This is Sportish.
This is Sportish. Do not adjust your television sets for the first time in program history. I'm out of the box. My name is Jeff Brault, coming to you from somewhere in Middle America. He's Dr. Keith Struther, the director of the School of Communication and Media at Montclair State University. Our producer is Mike Wallace. Thank you so much for joining us for, Keith, what is our first ever all New Jersey show. If you're from New Jersey, that means this is the best episode ever. And if you're from any of the other states, it means that this episode is kind of smelly and has an undeserved sense of pride.
Look, all roads lead back to New Jersey. As a proud New Jerseyan at this point, we've got everything. We've got mountains, we've got lakes, we've got the beach, we've got views of New York City, we've got some swampland, we got all of it. So New Jersey is America. Congratulations on making yourself down to one of the some might call it one of the low points of New Jersey, but you're in the state. You've crossed the state lines. And so congratulations on that. Enjoy the smell, enjoy the taste. And this program will come to you with a little bit more chutzpah, a little bit more of all of that, a little bit more Bon Jovi, living on a prayer, dead or alive, bring it on.
It's basically our regular show, but instead of bacon on our breakfast sandwiches, we have ham. And we call it Taylor ham, which no one else in the world does. That's the only difference. Otherwise, this is exactly your regularly scheduled Sportish program on For the Fans. By the way, Thursday at noon, you know that because you're watching us live. But if perchance you're not watching us live, you're catching us on YouTube or as an audio podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, all of those. Maybe you're watching it at ftfnext.com, where the archives are also posted. You want to see it live. You want to experience it with the rest of America for the first time. It is now Thursday at noon, second week of that change. I know a lot is changing here in the Sportish world, but look, change is a good thing. We're coming out of this pandemic. I am in a basketball tournament, postseason tournament, like mini quarantine bubble. That's why, this is what it is. In my world, normalcy is slowly trickling back into the world and the sports world, Keith.
Well, my world is exactly the same way. So don't rub it in. I'm living exactly the way I was last week.
Okay, there are 6.99999 billion other people on the planet, so maybe their world is feeling a little more normal.
No, my world is exactly the same. It's the same living hell. I am. But I will tell you, the weather, I don't know. I mean, I think we fully admitted we don't know the first thing about medicine, anything. We don't understand how the vaccine mutates, how it travels. We don't know anything. We just do as we're told. When they say shelter in place, we shelter in place. When they say go to a restaurant, we go to a restaurant. We are one step away from dogs, Pavlovian at best, right? So, but I will say it feels a little better. I don't know. I mean, I know I don't want to get this false sense of normalcy, because apparently the numbers are still pretty high, and there's still these are the same numbers we had like last year when we were freaking out. So we're still there, but the weather's gotten a little bit warmer. It looks like these vaccines are flowing like beer on St. Patty's Day, right? And I'm waiting. I actually would like to get it on St. Patty's Day, although I won't because I'm not in line yet, but I'd like to get the green vaccine. I've been told if you get it on St. Patrick's Day, you get the green vaccine.
And just to put it out there, in case you hadn't figured it out from Keith's description, I'm in Atlantic City, New Jersey. That's where I am located. If you were racking your brain trying to figure out where I am sitting.
That's a brilliant song, by the way. Atlantic City. That is a brilliant song.
They blew up the Chicken Man in Philly last night. Right.
Yeah.
That might be the only decent take you've had about songs in a while, because
what version do you
need
like
to take away your Twitter account.
Oh, wait. Oh, no. You're talking to the wrong guy. My 600 and some odd followers would be very disappointed. But which version of Atlantic City do you prefer? There's a right answer to this.
The Springsteen version.
No, well, that's wrong. This is
It's
one of the.
not.
No,
It's the boss.
no,
We're on an all New Jersey show. You're going to disparage Bruce Springsteen?
I'm not. It's a bad choice. It's a bad choice. I'm telling you, even Springsteen fans might concede this one. The band's version is glorious. You need to listen to it. And viewers, you need to listen to it. The band's version of Atlantic City is awe-inspiring. I promise you. I even Springsteen diehards would concede this is a glorious remake.
What's the name of the band?
The band.
Yeah, I know it's a band. What's its name?
The band. You know, the name of the band is The Band.
No, I don't know the band. I don't know which band it is. Which band does the other version of Atlantic City?
Move on to my hot.
You don't want to keep doing this who's on first
I don't want to
routine?
do the Abbott Costello routine. I don't.
No.
And I don't think our viewers would appreciate it either.
So maybe that's a good music take. I don't know, because I just learned, along with most of America, that the band did a version of Atlantic City. I just
That's
assumed
not
it was
true.
only
A lot of
Bruce
people know
Springsteen.
that. A lot of
So-
people know that.
That might be a good take. I have no idea of knowing. What I do know is an awful take is the take that you decided to fire off on Twitter last week for no good reason. No good reason. Do you want to tell the people what thought popped into your mind that you felt needed to be shared with the world?
Well, it's, as you know, I mean, particularly as the pandemic has kind of continued to run its course, I've gotten a little bit more back into my musical past. I've restrung my guitars. I actually bought a new converter box. We're working on a soon to be, well, very, distantly soon to be released EP from my college band, the three original members back on stage together next spring for the first time since 1991. A lot of exciting musical things happening in my world. So I thought it's probably a good time for me to start sharing my musical knowledge with the world as well. And, on Twitter, I really have kind of three verticals I like to do. Garbage sports takes, usually about things that are inconsequential to the game, like why did that coach go for two, things like that. Who else is watching bobsledding right now? Like those kind of takes, those kind of hot sports takes. I like to have my really stupid TV show takes, right? I like to have my stupid TV show takes, like, hey, did anyone see this episode of Charles in Charge? Or, what happened on the last episode of America's Food Truck? And then I like to have what I think a lot of people like are my musical takes, right? My musical takes is I'm a musician, and I decided, and I don't know what really kind of spurred me to make this public. I just was feeling it. I was feeling it at the time because you kind of go down these rabbit holes of, you know what it was? I'll tell you what it was. I remember what got me there. As you know, because I also shared this hot take with the world, I watched the movie Rock of Ages this past weekend.
You did.
By the way, your TV has lost.
You may have noticed that my background has morphed. So now what we have, because the computer that was plugged into went to screensaver because I forgot to disable the screensaver, we now have what is known in the broadcast business, Keith, as a conundrum. So what can happen now is I can get up. Get up during the broadcast and get the picture back on the screen, or we can just leave it like that.
No, you're going to do it. I will walk, because you're listening. I'm going to walk America through how I got to my hot take about essentially grunge music from the 90s. Go ahead and take care of your business. We'll all pay attention.
I do need to very briefly prepare America for the fact that I am not wearing appropriate pants to be standing up on camera. So please bear with me. Keep in mind that this is a torso only show. So we were not expecting this to have to happen. And I'm just going to need you to bear with me. And also do know that this is episode 48 or whatever of Sportish. I have been wearing a similar type of pant for every single episode. So this is not a new thing. It's just new to you. We're all going to experience it together, and then we're all going to forget that it ever happened. Thank you, America. Now, Keith, please tell everyone how bad your takes are as I get our logo back onto the screen. Pardon me.
So as I was watching Rock of Ages, which came on probably at like 11 o'clock, or I started watching it on demand, probably 11, 12 o'clock on like a Friday night. Not the perfect time. Are you going to have to do that now every 10 minutes?
No, because what I did is brought my mouse over. So
Okay.
now I can keep I'll just continually move the mouse so that my screensaver.
So
doesn't
I
come
watch
on.
I'm watching Rock of Ages, and and there's some great music, and you start to kind of watch some of these songs, and you realize like, oh, Sister Christian, what a great song. And by the way, who wouldn't want to be on a bus when all of a sudden people start singing Sister Christian?
You lost me, by the way. Who wouldn't want to be on a bus? As someone
If you're just sitting there and someone's like, you know, those boys don't want to play with you. It's true. I got that lyric wrong, but wrong. Regardless, I mean, so I'm watching it. And of course, look, I think COVID has done this to us, but I think you and I have this proclivity anyway. There is no rabbit hole of information that we won't go down.
That's 100% correct. Yes.
I mean,
it's literally why we started this show.
Yeah. The internet was created specifically for us. It's created to create these deep holes, and YouTube may have been the worst time suck that I've ever come into contact with. So I started watching music videos, right? I was like, oh, I'd like to go see Dead or Alive, which is, I mean, we're in Jersey, you know, I think Bon Jovi's best song, right? I walk the streets, loaded 6-string on my back. I play for keeps because I might not make it back.
Listen, I should just say this for everyone. We're not here to do a sports show today. So if you're tuning in,
you didn't prepare.
If you're tuning in,
you were watching that. Literally, all you were doing all day was watching sports, and you couldn't at any point think like, oh.
If you want to talk about mid-major college basketball, this could be the show for you, Keith. Is that what you want to do?
No, I really don't.
So instead, we're going to talk about your terrible music tastes, and we're going to talk about the guy that married Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. So if you're here and you're waiting for us to get to the sports, because sometimes we take like 10, 15 minutes off the top and just sort of ramble, I wouldn't buckle in just yet. You might want to listen. This would be the time to change the channel if that's the type of program you're looking for.
Well, I mean, there's some interesting stuff. How about Gonzaga? Undefeated. They're going to go undefeated. Watch, they'll lose before this thing airs. They're going to go undefeated.
It's been carnage in these tournaments. Carnage. 1 seeds are losing all over the place. So that was a very dangerous statement. Now, what got this started was I asked you about 5 minutes ago a very simple question. What was the stupid take that you put on Twitter?
So I
haven't told us.
I start watching
Bon
videos.
Jovi?
I start watching videos. I start watching videos.
Tell us what the bad take was so we can make fun of you.
Somehow it gets me to, I think I ended up somehow eventually on Celebrity Skin, Hole. And I realized what a great song that is. Now, that's my kind of music. I like pop rock kind of. That's my sound. That's my sound. It's a fine song. No, it's not a fine song.
I have no problem with the song. It's a fine song.
It's a perfect pop song. But
with what you said.
Well, here's what I also think. And obviously, when you think of Hole and you think of Courtney Love, you think of that in relation to Nirvana. It's natural, right? You can't think about one without the other. I happen to think that Nirvana is one of the most overrated musical acts of all time.
That's not even the stupid take that you put on Twitter. That's worse than the take that you put on Twitter.
I happen to think they weren't. I don't like grunge music. I understand why they were important in the pantheon of musical history. I understand that they were transformative because the fans kind of so grabbed on to this kind of mopey message, right? That said, I think the best thing that came out of Nirvana was the Foo Fighters. I think the Foo Fighters are a much finer act than Nirvana is.
So I fully agree with that. I've been fortunate enough to see the Foo Fighters live a couple of times. I'm a huge Dave Grohl fan.
Yep, absolutely.
And this brings me to why your point is awful, because I think Dave Grohl is one of the best musicians of this generation.
Dave Grohl's a fine musician.
He wasn't even the best musician in Nirvana.
Well, it does. I disagree with that. But secondly, that's irrelevant.
Well, Dave Grohl wouldn't disagree with that, by the way.
But Dave Grohl's he's modest. He's not. If I were Dave Grohl, I'd be like, no, I think I pretty much ran the show.
No, you wouldn't. If you were Dave Grohl, you would be even more insufferable than you are now.
That's
Imagine you with actual talent. Oh my God.
So I was listening to that and I was just like, wow, Hole and certainly this song didn't get the credit it deserved. And meanwhile, Nirvana just sucked the air out of the room. So I wrote what everyone's thinking, but was afraid to say it out loud, which is Celebrity Skin is a better song than any single song that Nirvana ever recorded. I stand by that 100%. It is a better song. And not only that, then of course I went down the next rabbit hole, which is Courtney Love led me to the Donnas, which is one of my favorite all-girl bands of all time, which are fantastic listens, and started in the late 90s, like 97, went for about a decade. Incredible. I love the Donnas. But I think that Celebrity Skin is a superb pop song. Superb. And I don't think that a single song that Nirvana recorded is truly superb. I understand people found them to be, influential or, I didn't think there was a single band from that grunge era that truly deserved to be kind of put on the pedestal that they were. I think grunge was just a placeholder to get us from good music in the 80s to good music in the late 90s, early 2000s. It just was a placeholder. That's my hot take.
That's ridiculous. Smells Like Teen Spirit might be the song that sums up 1993 to 1997 better than any other song.
It's still not a good song. It might sum it up. That's ridiculous.
It's a terrific song. It's
not
in the pantheon of greatest songs of all time. It's on the list because it's the top song of its era.
It's not.
It is.
It wasn't even.
And I have another.
It wasn't even the best song in that relationship. It wasn't even the best.
Yes, it was. I have another issue.
What's your second?
Neither of these songs are what I would call pop songs.
Oh, Celebrity Skin is a pop song. That's a pop song. It's a pop song. I understand just because it's not Cardi B, maybe you wouldn't consider it a pop song or Taylor Swift or whatever you listen to.
I don't think I consider Cardi B pop either. Pop to me, and maybe just because it's the era I grew up in, is like your boy bands, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. Like those are pop songs.
I don't like to define pop that way. To me, pop is melodic, right? If it's pop, rock. Like I consider Blink-182 to be a pop band. I understand they came from the punk era, but to me, that's pop music. I understand it may not. It may not fit into the the Z100, that kind of other. There's crossover, obviously, and I'm sure that Courtney Love got some crossover play. I'm sure she did. I just think the chord changes, the guitar sound, the a little bit of irony and tongue in cheek. She brought it all to the table on that song. It had the melodies. It had that Los Angeles spirit. Like I didn't like that whole Seattle. Oh, it's always raining. Everyone's miserable. I don't need that.
But just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not objectively good.
Well, no, that's exactly. See, that's where we disagree. We disagree completely. See, I don't like it, so it's not good. So if I go to a restaurant and I'm like, I don't like this, I'm like, this is not. I'm not going to be like, I don't like it. I bet it's awesome. If I don't like it, like there is no good mayonnaise. There's no such thing as good mayonnaise because I don't like it. I don't like mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise is an elite condiment. It's an elite condiment. And you want to make an even better condiment, you mix mayonnaise with barbecue sauce. You stir that together. Oh, now you are living.
To do what with? You just paint it on your heart? Put it in the
I'm not trying to set the record for longevity here. I'm trying to enjoy my time before it's done.
You really
are hanging around for?
You don't have anything prepared for today. Nothing.
Literally nothing. Literally nothing. And to the point where, like, unless you want to talk about small college Northeast basketball, I have nothing for you. So, Keith, what do you want to talk about? It's a nice role reversal. Like, is this how you feel all the time? You're just sitting waiting for me to say something? Like, I'll talk about that. It's kind of nerve-wracking. We're just here on recorded, plausibly live television because we don't edit this show. I don't know if you could tell by the fact that I just stood up to have to jiggle my screensaver a few minutes ago.
The worst part is that could have been avoided, but I was like, well, I really don't want to edit that. That could have easily been avoided.
It's also better this way anyway. Like now people know that I don't wear pants when I do Sportish.
I'll tell you what, I'm not a big fan of those basketball shorts, although I'm wearing sweatpants right now, so I'm not a whole lot better. I will tell you, I found interesting. I saw a story today that Gronk is now taking ownership of his own digitally traded player cards or his own digital assets. So now players are starting to get into that business a little bit.
They're creating NFTs, right? Non-fungible tokens, I believe they're called. Yeah. And this is what we discussed, and I think we've said it in our last 2 episodes. Neither of us know how Bitcoin works, which means neither of us know how NFTs work. And maybe this is me getting old, cannot figure out why people are paying tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for these like NFT, like these highlight videos. I don't understand this at all.
I don't understand it at all. Look, I'm not a big fan of paying a lot of money for something that could accidentally be deleted. Like that's always so slightly worrisome. But it's interesting though that the players like Gronk realized, I mean, usually obviously this all went through a third party and there was a company that bought rights and they did it. The fact that Gronk is taking control of that himself, I think is quite fascinating. Something just happened to your computer. So it looks like It looks like
I'm gonna have to turn around now. This is more great television. I just jiggled the mouse to keep the screensaver on. Oh, look at that. Oh, there we go.
This is, by the way, a lot of people don't know this. This is exactly how NBC Nightly News is aired.
Let's just take the people through the year of Sportish, right? So we were bored in quarantine. We had an old radio show for 4 years that ran in the Hudson Valley, New York. We had a great time doing it. It was a lot of fun. And we had always talked when that run ended for like the 3 years in between when we started this show and that show came to its conclusion. We were like, we should do something again. And we never did. And then
we're just too lazy, just right, pure, too lazy. And to be fair, Zoom wasn't really a thing. We just were like, well, I don't want to drive. And
yeah. And a lot of it was, we'd love to do it, but we don't have the time. We don't have the inclination, whatever. Then the pandemic happened and we had nothing to do. We were sitting in our houses. Like you mentioned, Zoom became a thing. And so we're like, we're a couple of middle-aged white people with opinions. Let's start a podcast. And so we did that. And we were like, okay, maybe, maybe we get 100 people to listen a week or whatever.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Through connections, we showed the Zoom recordings of those podcasts to some people For the Fans, and they were like, yeah, we'll air this.
This is brilliant. This is good stuff.
They watched this. Keep this in mind, America. They watched this and thought, yeah, we'll air that. This is the kind of quality that we continue to churn out for them week after week.
I'm worried that this particular episode is probably taunting their sensibilities, though, because I'm sure every week they probably have a meeting, and this probably is on the table. Like every week, the GM president get together and they're thinking about trade assets. I gotta believe every week this is on the table. This is on the table.
Do you think they're just waiting for the episode like this where they can finally fire us? Like, do you think for the last couple of months they were like, well, but Jeff keeps putting a rundown together and they still talk about sports topics sometimes. So they're kind of fulfilling the terms of their contract. And like, this is the one they're waiting for where they could just be like, look, guys, you literally just turned on a camera and rambled for 47 minutes and tried to call it a sports show. And we're not going to support this delusion anymore.
I mean, that's a conversation. I feel like that is literally the conversation I had with my dad after I graduated from college. Keith, I have floated you for the past 22 years of your life. This joyride ends today. So
now, maybe, dear Sportish listeners, and I apologize for waving my red.
It's unnecessary.
As I continue to just break every rule in the television book. Maybe this is the kind of Sportish that you prefer. Maybe you've been waiting for us to get our high-minded sports takes out of the way so that we could just ramble more. And if that's the case, do two things. Tweet at us at SportishPod. You'll see it on the screen above. And then send a letter to For the Fans at 1 For the Fans Way, For the Fans, New York, 00001, and tell them how much you enjoy this new Sportish so that they don't fire us for literally wasting an hour of their airtime on nothing. Because again, if you're just joining us, there's nothing coming behind this. We aren't about to get to something. There's no surprises late. Like, this is it. You got another 20 plus minutes of this.
Let's do role reversal.
Okay, what do you got? Let's do role reversal.
I'll tell you what do you think of the All-Star game?
I had to go for a run today, and somebody was on the trail, and they were running slower than me. And
You're doing a worse version of me than I'm doing of you. That's not something I would say. All right, so what'd you think?
You literally said that exact thing in like episode 6. It was a cyclist instead of a runner. I tried to change it to make it new for the people that have been with us this entire ride.
What do you think about them compressing? You doing the 3-point, the slam dunk all there in one. I found it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. So I thought the slam dunk contest was miserable.
I didn't watch it, and I didn't watch it for the same reason that what I'm about to say to answer your question. I don't care. And I don't care because I think all-star games are awful. I think all of them are terrible. They make no sense and they should go away.
Jeff Brawl, hot takes.
That's what I think about All-Star games.
So now now I'm just going to keep asking questions and you're just going to bring ridiculous, stupid hot takes. That's the way the show's going to work
I
out.
don't think that's a ridiculous, stupid hot take. Who in the world is excited to watch the Pro Bowl? Who in the world is excited to watch Team LeBron and KD win a game 170-50? Who is excited for this and why? I think the most interesting thing about it is the skills competition. You watch and you're like, wow, Steph Curry really is good at shooting threes. I'd rather watch that for 4 hours than the thing that they call the game.
The only compelling part I thought was the 3-point shooting contest, which is, God, he can shoot. He can just shoot.
I will say the only good All-Star game moment, and I don't know if it was the case this year because the game was kind of a blowout. When they went to the Elam ending last year, the fourth quarter was outrageously good. It might have been the best quarter of basketball ever played outside of that Dream Team practice from the Michael Jordan documentary. When those guys played hard with those rosters, it was outrageously good basketball. I don't know if the same thing happened this year because the game wasn't close. And as mentioned, I didn't watch it because while I may host a sports-ish show, I don't like sports that much.
I'll tell you, the kids love that is a game for the under 18 crowd, the All-Star games. They do. The kids absolutely, because they care about the players. This is the difference between you and an actual sports fan. This particularly a modern NBA fan, and particularly a modern NBA fan under the age of 21. They are watching for the players and they like the players, the personalities, the talent. So the All-Star game very much is in many ways kind of the apex. They get to see all of their favorite players there together doing something that seems kind of like fun. That's what they love. They aren't interested in the process. They're not interested in
I love the process. I actually have a shirt that says "Trust the process" because I'm a Sixers fan, and that was their slogan for a while they were rebuilding, winning 7 games a year. I love me some process.
I understand that, but I'm saying
inject the process into my veins.
I'm telling you, most sports fans, the modern NBA fan, they really appreciate the star power, and so they like watching all these guys pal around with one another. They like the fact that the Utah Jazz were picked last in everything. They find this stuff all appealing. And so I watched a little bit. It is, I think it got worse because the whole time you're watching it, you're trying to figure out why they did it in the first place.
Also true. I mentioned being a Sixers fan, when Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were kicked out of the game because they went to a barber that tested positive for COVID a couple days prior, I was like, if this All-Star game brings down the best Sixers season in decades, I am going to be very, very salty.
Well, it's interesting. The barber thing is interesting because I assume, although you probably don't have to get your hair cut very often.
Thing to say. Why would you say that? And by the way, for those of you that may also be follically challenged, but not so follically challenged that you have no choice in the matter, you have to get your hair cut more because the margin for error is nil. If you're not 4 or 5 days from a fresh cut, this thing is wild. I'll go full Krusty the Clown on the sides. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
When you cut, do you ever say, I might not see that one again?
So it's a constant, debate, not so much a debate, but it's a constant discussion with the barber. Is today the day? Because the day is coming. You're going to get progressively shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And the barber's all today is not the day. And I'm like, a reprieve from the governor. But it's coming. I know it's coming.
And when they say the day, it means take it all off.
No. It won't be. No. It's a gradual step down. So it'll be full buzz. Right now, I still have enough to work with where you can kind of do a little bit of something and you get your angles right. You make it work.
You literally sound like you're bringing hospice in. You're about to enter the death spiral.
And I also feel like I'm bringing hospice in. So, it's I think a proper analogy.
Do you ever feel bad for paying full price for a haircut?
No, because honestly, like mentioned, it almost takes more time to navigate around the mess than it does if, everything was simple.
When it's all gone, which do you have you mapped this out over the course of years?
It won't be all gone based on the men in my family. I will end up with the ring, which I will not do. That will not happen in my world. So it won't so much be all gone. It'll be very short.
When you just you're going to have to take it off. Essentially, you're going to have to buzz it down to nothing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. That's the plan eventually.
when you start doing that, are you going to, just so you have the sensation of going to a barber, which I'm assuming you enjoy, are you going to go for beard groomings?
Probably not. No, probably not.
That'll just be a part of your life that goes away.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I do enjoy the barber. I think as much as anybody does, but I'm not, it's not like a lifestyle or anything like that in my world.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
my point being, it seemed like a bold choice for NBA athletes to go to a barber shop in not their home city. Isn't that what happened? I think
they went to a barber in Philadelphia.
Oh, Philly, and then they
yeah.
Well, that's tough. I mean, because look, I've gotten a haircut. I mean, at first I didn't. I was cutting my own hair. Viewers probably noticed. I've started going back. I'm in and I'm out. I'm a super cuts kind of guy. Or great clips. I'm not a boutique kind of barber.
Okay, no free ads.
I said great clips or super cuts. Who wants it?
I just like to mention to the viewers that have stuck with us, you have been doing this for 30 minutes now. And that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Not counting commercial time if you're watching on For the Fans. If you're watching on For the Fans, you've been doing it for close to 38 minutes.
We would be doing better if you're rushing this. You've rushed this entire evening has been uncomfortable. I mean, I don't want to watch. You've made this entire evening uncomfortable. You've made
I'm very busy.
I'm very busy. I'm very busy. I have got a very serious job.
I thought about
doing with that your pen.
I thought about
I'm the one who holds the pen. You don't hold the pen. You don't need the pen. I'm the one who fakes writing during the show.
I thought about not doing a show this week. And you know what stopped me? I love streaks. No, definitely not professionalism. I love streaks and I love symmetry. And I want to get to 52 shows in 52 weeks. That's what I want to do. And then the 53rd week, see you in a month. We can go on hiatus. We'll come back or not. No. Who knows? But I want to get to 52. And we had to do this to get to 52. I had to turn this television. You
disappear for a month. You know who's going to be coming on this show. We've already talked about a succession plan.
We do actually now, because we had thought there was a chance we wouldn't be able to record this wonderful episode of television that you're enjoying. There was a chance we were going to need to bring in a backup host. And we don't want to spoil who that is in case we actually have to bring in a backup host. But do know that someone in our universe will be the backup host. And this may not be who you expect.
This is like being named like the godfather, like of your child. Like we have both, and we've decided that we will use the same backup host. We're not going to have our own.
For either role, yes. For either my role or Keith's role, we will use the same backup host. Yes.
So it's exciting. So if you are part of our universe, and you're watching right now, you might know that it might be you. You might know. You might be thinking that it might be you. That said, I'll also say this: if you are a loyal Sportish viewer, former guest, friend, family, and you'd like to be considered, we should do this like Kelly Ripa did it.
Oh,
we should try out. No, we should try out. We should bring people on and try them out.
It's not a bad idea, like what they're doing with the Jeopardy hosts now.
Yeah, that's uneven. I'll tell you that.
It's uneven. They should just pick Ken Jennings and be done with it. He did a great job. Everybody expects it's going to be him. He's a Jeopardy guy. Like, just pick Ken Jennings and be done with it. Why we're putting Aaron Rodgers on to host Jeopardy, I don't understand.
The fan.
Like, I don't. And I like Aaron Rodgers. There's nothing against Aaron Rodgers. Like, I like him. I know he's a huge Jeopardy fan. He's been on Celebrity Jeopardy. That's great. But what are we doing here?
Who would be if you could have anyone in the world host Jeopardy, who would it be?
Alex Trebek.
Well, he can't do it anymore.
Okay. If I could have anyone in the world host Jeopardy, it might be Ken Jennings. It really might. He's part of the world.
Anyone. You could have anyone do it.
Yeah, I kind of want it to be like a Jeopardy person.
I think I'd pick Tracy Morgan.
But that ruins Jeopardy. But this is because you can't handle serious things.
Like, no, that's not true. Yes, I can't handle serious things. I watched all of Rock of Ages, and then I wrote a very serious tweet about Hole being better than Nirvana. Please, I can handle serious things.
Like, Tracy Morgan is great. Tracy Morgan ruins Jeopardy. Jeopardy.
It's interesting because he's never been on Jeopardy, but by the way, the good thing about this show is often, because a lot of that I do a weekly commentary for WAMC, finest public radio station in the country, and often I have to kind of skirt around what we talk about and then try to carve out a space for what I'm going to talk about, in the commentary. I got a giant wide berth now.
Do you think there's a lot of overlap between the NPR audience and our audience?
No, I think the audience there, because I would have to say like this would have to be a serious Keith Strudler fan. And I've eliminated.
Oh my God. There are no Keith Strudler fans.
That's not true. That's not true. If
Well,
you're
name
a
and shame
Keith
them.
Strudler, if you're a Keith Strudler fan, tweet at us at Sportish Pod. That's our. Is that our? That's our. That's Sportish.
Yeah, that's
Pod.
ours. Yeah. Yeah. It's on the screen.
But newsflash, I don't see it when we're taping it. So
I mean, we are minutes away from me grabbing the camera off of the stack of hotel towels that it is currently sitting on and showing everyone exactly what we see when we're recording these episodes. Like that is how.
No, we're not going. All right. So that was my big sports story of the week. We had the All-Star game, and then of course we've got conference. How do you feel about Duke not making the tournament? Quite a seismic shift. You don't care.
I don't care. And do you know why I don't care? Because they don't deserve to be in the tournament. So how do I feel about them not making the tournament? Good, because they're not good enough to be in the tournament. There you go. I think teams like Duke should be in the tournament less. I think the way you make the NCAA tournament better is to have more underdogs in. More underdogs, not more blue bloods, more underdogs. We want the upsets. And I know now you're going to say people want the upsets in the first two rounds, and then they want to see North Carolina play Kentucky. No. George Mason making the Final Four, Butler making the Final Four, Loyola Chicago making the Final Four. Those have been some of the best, my favorite sports stories of the last few decades. More mid-majors, less Duke. So how do I feel about Duke not being in the tournament? Good, I guess. As long as that spot is taken by someone who hasn't been there in a while. Like Rutgers, it's an all New Jersey show.
Yeah.
Rutgers is going to make it this year, and that's
Welcome
cool.
to the dance.
First time like 30 years. Let's get Rutgers in there.
It's hard to think of Rutgers as not kind of an institutional power because it's a giant research one university in the Big Ten that has 60,000 students. But okay, I'll play along.
Yeah, well, but I mean, look.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rutgers fans, but look, this is our New Jersey show, and there's now that we are both New Jerseyans.
Yes,
there's nothing that we can. It's like nobody gets to make fun of my little brother but me. Rutgers is awful at sports. They're terrible at football. They're terrible at men's basketball, great at women's basketball. CViv, Hall of Famer, great at women's basketball. Maybe they're good at other sports. I don't know. But in those three sports, the ones that people really care about, they're terrible at two, really good at one, terrible at two, but now they're going to be in the NCAA tournament. I feel like it's a good thing that Rutgers fans get to have some joy. If you're a Rutgers fan, there can't be a lot of overlap in the Venn diagrams between people that are generationally happy and also a fan of Rutgers athletics. So like I think it's good that they get to have some joy. I like when long-suffering fans get to have joy. I
know quite a few Rutgers fans, and they do. They feel and hurt deeply, and it's very hard. And it's interesting because Rutgers is a school that, by all accounts, you look at from the outside and try to figure out why they aren't really good at things. I mean, it's a great academic institution, but why they aren't kind of a powerhouse in a lot of sports. It's in the center of a really, really rich athletic recruiting bed. It's a great university, highly ranked. I mean, they've done quite a bit with their campus. It's close to New York City. Like, you look around and you're like, how did St. John's get that good and not Rutgers? Or you could just point, like, how is Seton Hall the team that's kind of carried the state? Like, and it is hard to understand. I do believe, now that we're turning this into a sports show, I do believe, a Jersey sports show, that that Rutgers is no longer just living on a prayer. They are going to be look, Shiano's got this thing turned around. I have a friend who is very upset that
Shiano's the football coach.
Yes, I am saying football. I understand that. I'm talking about football. I have a friend who's very upset that they canceled the Temple Rutgers game this past season because he's like, we had one shot to win that game. We were going to win, and now we're going to play again next year, and we're going to lose, and we'll never win again.
You didn't finish your thought about what Bon Jovi song Rutgers is now. They were living on a prayer, and now they're.
Well, you'd have to tell me some other Bon Jovi songs. It's not because it's. I mean, Bon Jovi's got two. They got two mega hits. How about "It's My Life"? But that doesn't really fit. Doesn't fit.
Doesn't fit. But you went down the road of this analogy, and I feel like the viewers demand that it be completed.
I don't have anything good on. Now I'm trying to think if there's a a Springsteen song that I could replace it with, but I'm not. Nothing. Springsteen songs are always so melancholy.
The Rising now, right now it's
Sure.
the Rising, huh?
Yeah.
That's a good.
Yeah.
That's a decent one.
That's not bad. Let's go with that. All right. So that was my second hot sports take. But I think now that you've killed the time here, I believe we have another story that you were going to bring to the table. Are you going to lead the show at all?
No, I'm not, because look, we said that things are slightly different than usual. If you can't tell from the background, things are slightly different than usual. And the other thing that's different is, for the first time, I'm not prepared at all for the broadcast. Normally it's Keith who has no idea what we're going to talk about,
but I'm saying,
just spouts nonsense off the top of his head. Now it's me. Basically the same, but slightly different.
This is like in Spinal Tap, where they're like, we don't pay you to be as stupid as Nigel is. You're not paid to be as confused as I am. That's my job. I'm the one who's unprepared and confused. You're supposed to be prepared. That's how this works. Can't have two prepared people. Can't have two not prepared people. One person.
I would actually like to point out that you can absolutely have two prepared people. In fact, many times when we're reviewing old episodes, watching the like it's game film, we will text each other and be, boy, imagine what we could do if we prepared.
Well, now we're seeing what we could do if we don't prepare. So why don't you take us to our final story, or do I have to do that as well?
I mean, I could do it because I know what you're getting at, but I mean, you've taken us this far, and I don't want to. And look, when there's a sense of accomplishment when you get to the last story and you're on time. And
do I have to talk
about it?
Do I have to take the show out? Do I have to do the outro as well?
100%. Because I can't wait for you to mess up all the places people can watch Sportish. You're gonna be like, Sportish, it's on stuff.
Well, because look, I have done shows on one of the many times when you've been absent. So I've led shows before, and once I get into a groove, and it's a different kind of show, I do fine. Where I don't do fine, and I'm like an airplane. Two most dangerous times in an airplane: when it takes off and when it lands, right? Once you're in the air, pretty stable. I have a hard time getting the bus off the ground, and I have a really hard time bringing it in for landing. And so the worst, I mean, thank God we had no guests. I have never remembered a guest in my entire life. I like to thank that guy who worked in that sport, and then I like to thank that lady who was also doing something around sports, and you're the intern, and this is the show. So I will take us to the house. So final story. I don't know. I mean, you're not married, so you've never had the occasion to be divorced. I'm married. I certainly have an opportunity at all times to be divorced. I'm not at this particular moment. So right now I'm married.
Spoiler alert.
But by the time you actually see this show, who knows?
That's true. It's just like Gonzaga being undefeated. It could end at any moment. There are minefields everywhere.
As you know, one of the most famous divorces in recent memories, or most well talked about, is Jeff Bezos, who split with his wife, who I'm blanking on her name at this particular moment.
Mackenzie.
Yeah, and
why I do what I do.
I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to be here. I didn't ask.
Well, that makes two of us.
So they split, and obviously, I don't care what the arrangement is. She's going to walk away with a significant amount of money in that deal.
She already has. It's $52 billion.
That's right. 4% of the stock of Amazon stock.
$52 billion.
52. And that made her, as you have pointed out, the wealthiest woman in the world, I believe. Correct?
Yeah, I actually might have been wrong about that. I think it's like third or fourth. Still pretty good. Still pretty good.
She's a 1C. Let's put it that way. All right.
Yeah.
So she now has a lot of money, right? And obviously, look, I think when you're married and whomever is the primary earner, look, you're earning it together. I actually believe, and I say that because not being the primary breadwinner.
Yep, there it is. Imagine if you were, you would be like, listen, there is one king in this castle, and everybody needs to get in line and recognize who is out front leading this bandwagon.
I just feel like we're both doing our thing. We both get compensated.
Everyone contributes equally.
I don't get into the details, so I think whatever happens. And if things end, I mean, we'll just deal with it then. We split it down even Stevens. So she obviously, I think she didn't get half, which would have been a lot of money, but she got a lot. 52 billion. Now, if it seems as though she wants to use those 52 billion to do good, right? She wants
Correct.
to give a lot away, right? That is fantastic, and nothing wrong with that. But it seems as though maybe she was lonely and she wanted some companionship, as people are wont to do. I mean, right? Jeff Bezos also seems like he's lonely, and that seemed like part of the problem.
You know, normally when you introduce a subject to talk about, you introduce it and then leave time to talk about it. You're still in the intro phase, and we're 4 minutes into this.
So long story short, she marries the science teacher from her kid's school. Now,
correct.
I am sure he is a nice guy. I started my career as a junior high school and middle school teacher. They get paid, like an average working professional, right? They are, some might say modest. I'm sure he works in a high-end private school. This is where the Gates family went. I'm sure he's compensated well. I'm sure he's very smart and so forth. What he did not have prior to this encounter was access to $52 million.
Nope, $52 billion.
I'm sorry, $52 billion.
Yep. He may have had access to $52 million, but comparatively, that is like finding a quarter in the couch cushions.
So he's now really, really rich.
Yes.
What do you think that is like to one day be thinking about, I'm going to teach people how to dissect a frog, and then maybe I'll go to the Shoney's and grab dinner, to deciding which hotel chain you want to buy?
Yeah. So first things first, we all stand our new king. Welcome, exalted one. Secondly, he's done all the right things. Publicly talking about how he's so happy to join Mackenzie on this journey, to give away money and do good. It's exactly what you have to say publicly. Privately, I've never met this man. I don't even recall this man's name. That's not important. Privately, there has to be fireworks going off inside his head, because he has pulled off one of the greatest finesses of all time. And here's the most important unanswered question, Keith. And we were talking about this a little bit before we came on air. Who made the first move? That's what we have to know. We have to know who made the first move. If it was him, put up a statue.
I'm not. I mean, newsflash, and it's a good thing I'm not, because I happen to be married. I'm not a good first move kind of guy. Like I am. I mean, I've just never excelled at the first move.
Keith, we were about to have a fun discussion, but we have to end it now. Do you know why we have to end it now? Because you have to land this. You have to land this plane. Right.
Well, that's another great episode of Sportish. I hope you enjoyed all those hot sports takes we brought. Jeff, of course, in Atlantic City, getting ready to call 5 or 6 or 7 or however many you have to call of the MAC basketball tournament. Who knows?
I'm going to, by the way, do something you do to me that's so annoying.
Well, we're almost out of time. You can watch Sportish on Roku and on screens and on a blanket you put on your wall with the projector. That's all the time we have. So for Jeff Brault, who's in Atlantic City, and Mike Wallace, who's almost our producer, I'm Keith Strub, the director of the School of Communication and Media at Montclair State. See ya!
Thanks for listening to Sportish. See you next time.